Edward Theodore Gein, better known as the Butcher of Plainfield. Few names have ever inspired as much fear or left as deep a mark on American culture as his. For many around the world, he remains almost unknown, but the legacy of his horrors has reached far beyond. What you are about to see is a narrow window into a universe of real, unspeakable violence. This video is not for the faint of heart or anyone underage. This is not fiction, this is not cinema. This is a real case, terrifying, a case that pushed the police and an entire community to their limits. We are about to witness a glimpse, a small, chilling glimpse into the life of Ed Gein, the killer who stripped the skin from his victims. What's the best way to tell the story of a monster? By exploring his human side, his weaknesses? No. Gein terrorized a community, violated the memories of dozens, and took the lives of at least 2 innocent victims. He was born human, but he became a monster. Decades after his crimes, people still visit his grave. How is that possible? We will not enter the mind of Ed Gein. Instead, we will reveal the terror he left behind and the horrifying reality of his existence. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only. We do not glorify crime, lawbreaking, or violence. Every victim, investigator, and innocent person involved deserves respect. Our goal is to document the facts, share the history, and understand how these unbelievable events happened. Viewer discretion is advised. Ed Gein was born in 1906 in rural Wisconsin, in a family shadowed by instability. His father, George, battled alcoholism and struggled to hold steady work. His mother, Augusta, ruled the home with extreme religious beliefs, teaching her sons that the world was corrupt, sinful, and dangerous. She condemned women as instruments of temptation, except herself. Her voice shaped Ed's reality from childhood. He wasn't allowed to make friends. He wasn't allowed to leave the farm freely. He wasn't allowed to question anything. In school, Ed was quiet, awkward, and often bullied. But he excelled in reading. He consumed books, crime magazines, anatomy studies, adventure stories, and later medical texts. His imagination grew in isolation. In 1940, his father died. Ed and his older brother Henry kept working around town doing repairs, farm jobs, and odd tasks. People liked Ed. He was polite, helpful, and seemed harmless. But Henry worried about his brother. He openly criticized Augusta's control over Ed, calling it unnatural. In 1944, a fire broke out in a marsh near their land. Ed and Henry tried to put it out. That night, Henry died. The official cause, asphyxiation. Some officers noticed bruising on his head, though the coroner ruled it consistent with falling. Ed was the one who led police to the body. No charges were filed, but the circumstances remain debated to this day. After Henry's death, Augusta suffered a stroke. Ed cared for her obsessively until she died in December 1945. Her death shattered him. The farmhouse, once strict and oppressive, became a place frozen in her memory. Ed sealed off her rooms like sacred spaces, untouched and preserved. The rest of the house rotted. Ed lived alone, working seasonal jobs, reading obsessively, and withdrawing from society. He became fascinated with anatomy, grave robbing, and stories of medical experimentation. That obsession turned into action. During interrogations years later, Ed admitted going to cemeteries at night. He said he often entered a dazed state. Investigators confirmed that several graves were disturbed, 9 of them matching the remains found in his home. Ed targeted graves of middle-aged women who physically resembled his mother. Inside the house, police later discovered a catalog of horrors, all verified in official reports. Skulls turned into bowls, chairs covered with human skin, a wastebasket made of skin, a corset made from a woman's torso, leggings made from skin masks created from human faces, a heart stored in a paper bag, a box of noses, 4 skulls mounted on posts, facial masks removed from several victims, lips attached to a window shade pull, organs preserved in jars. Every item was photographed, tagged, and documented. Ed said he created these objects to feel closer to his mother, as if wearing the skin of others would let him become her again. He denied cannibalism. Police found no evidence that he consumed human flesh. He admitted to only 2 murders, Mary Hogan in 1954 and Bernice Worden in 1957. The case broke open on November 16, 1957. Bernice Worden disappeared from her hardware store. Blood stained the floor, the register was open, and the last receipt listed a simple purchase: antifreeze. The name written on the slip was Ed Gein. Deputies went to his farm. The smell hit them immediately, sweet, rotten, suffocating. Inside the shed, under dim light, they found Bernice Worden's body hanging by her ankles, decapitated and dressed like a field-dressed deer. The sheriff later admitted the scene haunted him for years. Inside the house, officers found the rest: skulls, masks, furniture, body parts, and preserved organs. Several investigators vomited. Others stepped outside in silence, unable to continue. The scene was so disturbing that the sheriff physically assaulted Ed during questioning, an incident that later prevented one of Ed's confessions from being used in trial. Ed didn't fight arrest. He spoke calmly, explaining his grave-robbing habits as if discussing chores. Psychiatrists diagnosed him with schizophrenia, severe personality disorder, and psychosis linked to his mother's influence. Declared unfit for trial in 1958, he spent more than a decade in a psychiatric institution. Doctors described him as quiet, cooperative, and nonviolent. In 1968, he was ruled competent to stand trial. He was found guilty of murder, but legally insane. He spent the rest of his life in psychiatric care until his death in 1984 from respiratory failure. Even after his death, the story continued. His tombstone was repeatedly vandalized. In 2000, it was stolen entirely. It was later recovered and placed in storage to prevent further theft. The Gein farmhouse burned down in 1958 under suspicious circumstances. Local residents claimed it was intentional, an attempt to bury the past. Officials never identified a culprit. And yet, the case remains one of the most studied in American criminology. Not because of the gore, but because it exposes how isolation, obsession, mental illness, and trauma can create a slow, quiet descent into darkness that no one noticed until it was too late. Today on Discover Now Facts, we share these stories to understand, not to glorify. Because behind every headline, behind every horror, there are victims, families, and investigators who lived the reality, not the myth.